Each year, the fine folk of Oxford Dictionary fame choose one word to sum up the year. But in the context of a year requiring prolific vocabulary innovation, they said, as our Word of the Year campaign started, it quickly became apparent that 2020 is not a year that could be neatly accommodated in one single word. I wonder if you had to sum up your 2020, what word would you choose? Of course, there's been no shortage of contenders. COVID, Rona, coronavirus, pandemic, unprecedented, physical distancing, social distancing. There's also been super spreaders, hotel quarantine, social isolation, and border passes. All of a sudden, our lives have been saturated with words and phrases never before imagined to occupy our minds and roll off our tongues. We've Zoomed, Skyped, Teamed, FaceTimed, WhatsApped, Grammed, and TikTok, all whilst pivoting, adapting, checking in, and of course, imagining a whole new normal. No doubt there's lots to give thanks for this year, but frankly, and I don't know about you, it's left me weary. It's no wonder that recently in a survey, 88% of Australians indicated that they are very happy to close the door on 2020 in the hope of 2021. But Christmas reminds of a hope that is so good, that is so great, that it doesn't just point to a hypothetical distant future when this is all behind us. It's not just based on the whim of a calendar change, but a hope that we can rest in even amidst a mess. We can rest in real hope because Jesus was born. We can have comfort amidst the mess this Christmas because of the news that God speaks into our broken world, not just by sending words, but by sending his Son. God's answer for a weary and broken world was not a strategy, a dream, or a positive outlook, but himself. In a year in which so many have felt and been distanced from others, the good news of Christmas, the good news that the angels said will cause great joy for all the people, is that in Jesus, God himself has come near. He's broken into our world, fully God and fully human. That means that when you go to the one who has come to us, you can find mercy and grace because Jesus knows what it's like to be human. Jesus understands weakness because he abandoned glory and became weak for us. Jesus understands tiredness, having experienced the depths of emotional and physical exhaustion. Jesus understands obedience, even in the face of tremendous suffering. Jesus understands grief in the face of trial, the frailty of life and the fragility of friends. Jesus understands temptation, choosing not to serve himself, but to serve the world even at great cost. Jesus understands death, not only facing it, but embracing it so that we might live. That's who you go to when you rest in Jesus. But the incredible news is that we can hope. We can rest in real hope, not only because Jesus was born, but we can rest in real hope because Jesus was born to die. That might sound really puzzling, a really sad thing to say, but it's possible because Jesus wouldn't just enter into our mess, but on the cross, he would take all that mess on himself. As one of the authors of a letter to some in the early church wrote, "For we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathise with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way just as we are, yet he did not sin. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need." The high priests of old made a way for the need for forgiveness and relationship with God through sacrifices. But the problem was that the problem of sin that we create and that which we experience, well, it never went away permanently. Sin damages our relationship with God. Sin damages our relationship with others. Sin even damages our relationship with the world. Only God could pave a way through a sacrifice made once and for all to meet us in our need. And in Jesus, the great and final high priest, that's exactly what he did. Jesus doesn't just empathise with our situation, but he's done something about it. When he died, he took on himself all of our shortcomings, our sin and the brokenness of the world. He defeated sin and death. And just as the angel said, Jesus is a long-awaited king. Jesus is the long-awaited Lord. He's God himself. But he's also Saviour. He's the one who saves. When we look at the manger, we don't just see that God has drawn near. He's not only secured a way that we can approach God with confidence, knowing comfort, grace, and love, even in a weary world, but we can have the comfort that the pain of our world, well, it has an end. That just as decisive Jesus' victory over sin and death was on the cross, his resurrection points to the life forever in his kingdom that is yet to come. That's why this is such good news for weary world. It might be a stretch for you to find one word to sum up the year, but it's straightforward to find one word to sum up real hope: Jesus. Real hope that you can grasp this very day, no matter what is happening in your life right now, simply by responding to the one who's come to us. I don't know what's ahead for 2021, but I know no matter what the year brings, that when you look to Jesus, you can rest in real hope this very day. And that when you rest in Jesus, you will find real hope for the ultimate future which awaits.